Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Concordia University's Forest Space. Thank you for joining us for today's event, part of Open House, Winter Open House here at Concordia. The title of today's event, Finding Your Place as a Woman in Engineering. Stories from graduate students at Concordia's Gina Cody School. And just to help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube live from Forest Space. We are located here on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. At Forest Space, we work with our university community to help mobilize knowledge. We co-create daily activities here that examine research questions and projects, things happening across the university. And we're running today's event as a live stream Zoom meeting, so we welcome any comments or questions there via the chat. Those of you here in the space, if you have any questions, just raise your hand. We'll bring a microphone over to you. Okay, it's now my pleasure to hand things over to the graduate student ambassadors for today. Over to you.
Hi everyone, welcome today. I'm Umayma Baromi, a graduate student at Concordia University. Today we will have a 1-hour panel in which we will give 20 minutes at the end for your questions and your concerns. I'm here today with my colleagues.
Hello, my name is Noble Miyazikazi, and
hi everyone, my name is Nada Abdelkhalid.
Okay, we'll start with a few introductory questions just to get our footing. So we'll start by introducing ourselves. So as I said, I'm a graduate student, exactly a PhD student at Electrical and Computer Engineering Department. I did my master's also at Concordia, and obviously I'm an international student. Given the floor to my colleague, Noble.
yes, and for me, I'm originally from Rwanda. I'm doing a Master of Applied Science in Mechanical Engineering with a focus in aircraft design.
So I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. I'm originally from Egypt, Cairo, and I also came here to do my master's, and right now I'm currently in my last year of my PhD, hopefully. So my research, I specialize in wireless communications and how we can improve networks through artificial intelligence. Specifically, how can we optimize spectrum usage, so the spectrum that carries wireless communications like your phone, all the signals carried through the towers, so we optimize these through AI.
Thank you, Nada, for these details. That actually leads me to my next question. So we can see the common thing here, engineers, so STEM. What led all of us to go into STEM? Why STEM studies, and why engineering specifically?
That's actually a very good question. So for myself, I did not have an epiphany. Like one day I decided to go for engineering. So in my high school, I found myself to be excelling in math and physics, and I was thinking to myself, well, these skills are very valuable. I need to put them to good use. And so I decided to go for electronics engineering back at the time, and I found myself there. And here I am today in still electrical engineering, and I absolutely love it. It brought me very great opportunities, and so yeah.
Noble, what about you? Want to share your experience with us?
Yes, so for me, it actually goes way back when I was around 10 years old. I was really always fascinated by aircraft, and then, I told my parents I really want to be a pilot. And then they asked me, it was kind of like, they were like, but as a woman, well, when you're gonna have a family, as a pilot, you're always away from family. And then I knew, of course, for myself that I really want to be close to my family. So I told them, okay, I really like math and I think I'm good at it, then why not make the aircraft? I really never thought being an aerospace engineer was a thing. I just thought, okay, if that thing is up there flying, it means there's someone who made it, who designed it. So at the time, I did not know, what you call a person who designs aircraft. So I asked my dad, is that a thing? How do you call that person? And I think he went and did his research at that time back home. We were not allowed to go on the internet or have access to it. So I guess he Googled, and then he told me it was called an aeronautical engineer. So from then on, 10 years, 12 years, I told everyone I was going to be an aeronautical engineer. They tried to suggest other things, and I was like, no, I'm going to be an aeronautical engineer. And that's how I ended up in aerospace and
Yes.
where I am now. Yeah.
Congrats, your dream came true.
Thank you. It did.
Well, I'll give my side of the story. not as dreamy as yours. So I think electrical engineering and engineering specifically chose me, not the other way around. Growing up, I always said, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. So I studied hard for that. I was good in math, physics, and biology. And so I come from Tunisia, where the system is a bit picky, in a sense that you have to be the best of the best to get to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. And I had to finish my last high school, so I was always that nerd who studies and studies and studies. And I finished that exam, but I thought I did very good to get a good enough ranking that I can do med school. However, I just was missing a bit. And then, what was the next option? Okay, I started looking and I lost hope. You know, I have no future. I'm not going to go to med school. No. And then I was like, okay, the next thing is engineering school. I'm going for that. And I just put it. And just it happened that one day to another, I was like, okay, studying. And the system is a bit different from other countries. In our country, we have like preparatory school, where it's 2 years specifically dedicated to study engineering courses like heavy math, hardcore math, physics, chemistry. So we have to do those 2 years and then pass a national exam based on your rank, and also you get to choose which engineering school and which field of study. And then I was like, okay, electrical, I like playing around with things. It might work out well. And that's how it is. But after that, I was like, I still need to be a doctor. I always wanted to be a doctor. So here I am today doing my PhD just to become that doctor, but not that kind of doctor where you go to the ER and the hospitals, but it's okay, I guess. So that leads me to the next common point. We're all at Concordia. So why Concordia?
So for me personally, I wanted to continue my grad studies in wireless, and the first point of search was to find a supervisor that was specializing in a particular field that I was interested in. And so at the time, like, I found my supervisor and our interests aligned. And also, I find that Concordia is situated like in Montreal, and it's a very, very beautiful city here. It's very diverse, and I appreciate that personally. It's also very lively, and
We'll get to that in a few, yeah.
yeah, I mean, Montreal is home now for me, and I absolutely love it. It's such a beautiful city, and so for me it was best of both worlds. Just the field that I wanted to work in. An absolutely amazing supervisor. He's been very supportive throughout the years, and Concordia as well has been very supportive, from funding to people who are working in every department who are very, very helpful. You go to anybody in Concordia and they try to help. They have that environment and that way of thought, like everybody wants to help in whatever way they can, and they make it easy for you. Concordia doesn't have a lot of red tape, so that it becomes a barrier for you to succeed. Actually, they try as much as they can to push you, to give you the resources that you need to succeed and focus on your studies, which is very essential when it comes to grad studies. As graduate students, we have a lot on our table, and so Concordia gives you that peace of mind for you to focus and thrive and feel supported, actually. So, yeah.
What about you, Noble? Where and how did this journey begin for you?
Yeah. So for me, it's kind of like what you shared. Concordia chose me. It was that sort of situation. But how it actually started was, so I did my bachelor's in the United States. And then like a year into my bachelor's, I was like, because school there is really expensive. International students, it's really expensive. So I started getting a little bit worried about, okay, how am I going to pay for my tuition? So I started thinking of other options, and I had heard like school in Canada is on the more affordable compared to the United States in this case. And then I had a friend actually who came to Concordia for aerospace engineering. So yeah, he told me about it, and then I usually show my friends like, hey, I was admitted to Concordia at this time back in 2017, but I came in 2023. So I applied, and then actually got into the school to transfer into the aerospace program here in undergrad. But then things worked out, of course. I ended up finishing my bachelor's in the US. So when I finished, I did know at the school I was at, I was like, okay, yes, so I'll continue here with my master's. Things did not work out there. And then I was like, but one time at some point in life, I did try to go to Concordia University. So I was like, okay, let me reopen this, but now for a master's degree. So I did, that's how I ended up applying here. And then I found, so my current supervisor, she's actually a woman, amazing, yes. And she has like great experience in the aerospace industry. So that was really inspiring to me. And also, you know, in my undergrad, I did have this one female professor who was very inspiring to me. She was actually one of the people who recommended me. So yeah, the research, I did see like Concordia was really into research that's actually solving real world problems. And the thing in particular that I really liked about the research group that I'm working with now is that they do work with industry. So that was something that was very interesting to me. And yeah, so that's how I ended up in Concordia. Chose me at first, and then I ended up choosing them, which is, you know, it worked for the best. Yeah.
That's really nice. Yeah, come to think about it, I think I have a heartwarming relationship with Concordia. In a sense, again, it's not to sound cliche, but it did shows me. Like, Concordia really, I did not choose it because when I came here, I had a scholarship from my country to do a master's and a PhD at a certain university within Montreal and in Quebec, specifically in Quebec, or in Canada, I think it was in general, I'm not sure. But I missed the deadline for all applications because I learned late that I had that scholarship and I wasn't sure what I want to do, and it was COVID. It was a bit of a mess back then. And then the only school that was open, like the admissions, it was Concordia. So I applied for it, but I didn't know anything. And then I started looking, why it's speaking English? You know, Montreal is French, Quebec is French, Canada, oh, it's a far country. And then these questions came to mind, but I never gave it the time of the day. I was like, okay, I'm going to get accepted, then I'll move on one step at a time. And since then, 2020, it's been a journey until now with Concordia, where I totally agree with Nada, what she said about the Concordia. In a sense, it opens doors for you. It always looks for the opportunity to give it to you, not to take it away. There's always a solution to every problem. I think that's one of the first things I learned here, because with the bureaucracy in certain countries and in certain administrations, you sometimes lose faith in the system. But with Concordia, it's like, no, there's always a solution. We're going to figure this out. This will be solved. This is how you do it. And there's always guidance along the way, from the staff up to the supervisor. There's no red tape. I love the expression. So, and on top of that, speaking in the context of women in STEM, we're also very proud to have the first engineering school in the world, I think, named after women. So here's Gina Cody. And we thank her a lot for her support and guidance. She's our idol, I think, in engineering school, in Gina Cody, School of Engineering and Computer Science. So I think, yeah, apart from the resources that what Concordia can offer, it's more of a sentimental relationship that we all, I think, share. And this, if you have any other things to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to comment about what you mentioned earlier. There's always a solution for everything. Like at Concordia, they always do those workshops that basically develop your soft skills. And not only that, like I remember when I was applying for external funding from the Quebec government, they held workshops that give you the tips and tricks of how to construct like a perfect application. And I remember the workshop leaders actually were a big, tremendous, they were tremendous in their help. They were a very important factor in the success of the application. And so I totally agree with what you mentioned. There's always a solution for everything, and they always try to help. So, yeah.
Is it within the context of grad pro skills? They're the ones providing us with the workshops along the way. So
yes, absolutely. Grad pro skills, they
Yes.
organize these workshops, and they're absolutely helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, speaking of grad studies, help, and then trauma, and then research, how are grad studies at Concordia specifically? Consuming, overwhelming, easy? What is your experience? Who wants to start?
I would say, I guess you guys are doing PhD. I'm also in a thesis-based
Yes.
program, which is a big chunk of our program is doing research, and then the other is courses. Um, yes, it is time-consuming. You don't get to just go on a 3 days vacation and not do anything. So yes, it is really time-consuming, but I would say not in a bad way, in the sense that like, for example, I'm really, really passionate about the research that I'm doing. I know like what it is for, which is really, we're working towards, in the aviation industry, we're working towards less carbon emissions. So we're designing aircraft that meets, these goals that have been set, of like having the least amount of carbon emissions as much as possible. So I know I'm working towards a bigger goal. So most of the time, if it means I'm going to bed at midnight or going to bed at 1 a.m., it's okay. But it's also for the goals that I've set for myself, where I know that I came here to do this master's program, and I need to do it because I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to advance in the knowledge in this field, but also professionally, get a master's, and I could maybe get a better position than I was before after I was working for my bachelor's. So yes, it is time consuming, but also it doesn't mean you don't have a life, because as you mentioned, Montreal is very lively, so you can always take a break and do something. We're also in downtown, so let's say if you just want to step out and maybe have a fun lunch, sometimes I do that with my colleagues. We say, okay, let's go explore
Or
this
for a
restaurant
bit of
here.
fresh air, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And although now it's winter, it's usually much on the
Cold.
hotter side, and we want to stay indoors. But on the weekends, I really love hiking, and Quebec is amazing when you can get like a group of people and choose a weekend and go do something outside of Montreal, in nature and all of that. So it is time consuming, but it also doesn't mean you don't have a life, because most of the time you're
Yes.
passionate about what you're doing, and you just choose to take a break because it will help you, achieve those goals in a better and healthier you.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say about that. Yeah.
Totally agree.
So about the topic of how time-consuming grad studies is, I believe that it will. I mean, it definitely takes effort and time and resources, but it's the same with everything that you do in life. Even like with my bachelor, I remember at the time, like my energy was not as much as my energy right now. So all my focus was on my studies, and so when I went to the next level, like in my grad studies, again, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of time. But like I always say, the advice that when you choose something that you're passionate about, you don't really feel it. If you feel motivated, if you are, consumed by it, it becomes more like fun to do. And so like you don't really focus on how much time it takes for you to look for this, look for that. Like I could spend hours and hours looking for like the right image to put like in one of my presentations, but like I love this. I don't know if people will call me out and say like, "Oh, you're a nerd. How would you do this?" But I mean, I could spend like this amount of time, but it doesn't really matter, like because I really enjoy what I do, and so with regards to balancing, that's also another topic of like balancing grad studies and other things too, just because you have to think about your mental health as well in grad school is very, very important to keep going. It's like a marathon. You can't just jump with full speed. But I find like Concordia always organizes those events on campus. I remember I went to the writing retreat, like the thesis boost, and basically it's a 3-day program where they just help you focus on your writing. They give you food, they get you like a puppy, like a support puppy, and basically you just focus. Like that's the thing about Concordia, they want you to succeed. And so like imagine like you don't have to think about anything in the world. You can just be there, focus on your thing, and then you have everybody supporting you. which is very nice. I also know that ISO, they organize those art therapy sessions where you can just go de-stress, work on some pieces of art, or cooking classes. And so,
I didn't know about that.
yeah, they're absolutely amazing. Like, I mean, there's so many more. Like, what I know is just, you know, on the surface, but there's always something happening, and it's not like once per year or once per semester. There's always something every week happening. And so that's like just talking about Concordia specifically, but Montreal, as you mentioned, like I love this city. There's so much to do, and it's so artistic. You can have like the modern side of Montreal. You can have the historic side. There's also the nature. It's very, very beautiful, and so I love the art community here. Like with the jazz festival in the summer, like I absolutely love this stuff. So, yeah, so it is time consuming, but there's so much stuff to do as well, so you have to balance.
I'm still going to poke around actually in the grad studies part. I think the Montreal part deserves its own section later on, just to be faithful to it. So for grad studies, the resources you are having at hand, also how about the lab, if you're a part of a lab, how is the vibe overall? Is it important to be a part of a research lab, or how does that reflect you, whether positively, negatively? So tell me all about it.
Absolutely. So when I joined Concordia, most of my lab were actually male students. So I was like I was a master's student at the time, and there was another PhD student, a woman. And so it was kind of intimidating actually going into the lab, and all of them were just, you know, there, and I was the only female student in the lab. But over time, actually, that changed. And so, like, my supervisor started recruiting more women, and it became actually the opposite. We're more women than men right now in our lab, and so we're more majority. So, again, like most of my studies as an undergrad, I was one of the few. It was always like 5% women. Back in my undergrad, but I feel like Concordia here, they try as much as possible to recruit and diversify, which is very, very nice. I really appreciate that, because I was like, oh, I wish I had like a woman friend in engineering who would be supportive, like we'd work together and all of this. I really appreciate that, and I miss that like in my undergrad studies. I had very nice friends, like women friends in engineering, but we were very few, we're a minority. And so like in Concordia, I don't feel the same. Like I am among you guys right now, and I feel a privilege to sit and I mean have those conversations with you guys and be among other women in engineering. It's very inspiring, and I also I felt inspired by my colleagues that were older than me. So at the time I was a master's student, and we had like a PhD student who was a female, and I always felt inspired by her. Like I looked up to her, and I was like, oh wow, you do all those cool things, I want to be like you know. And one day it would be like doctor, and it would be like doctor friends, like we're all like, you know, females in engineering, which I really aspire.
It is empowering.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so yeah, this is actually the story about like joining the lab and the profile of the students. So yeah.
What about you,
Noble?
Noble?
Yeah. I guess I'll just start from, or let me start in the
Grad studies?
before. So during my bachelor's, actually, when I first joined, I was very, like, no one told me that aerospace would have very few women before I joined undergrad. And then I go to school, my first project, I'm the only female there. And I was like, okay, this is great. And so during that time, it was weird because I felt like I always had to prove myself, you know, within my projects, because it was always like more males. So in my bachelor's, most of the time, and then even my capstone, which is the final project that you do during your bachelor's, I was the only female in my group at that time. But by that time, I realized, like, as a woman in engineering, I don't have to prove myself. I just need to do it because I'm passionate about it, and I have a place here. So when I came to Concordia, I had the interview with my supervisor, and then I got the research role. So coming in, I thought I was going to see more males, just like the same thing, because now I thought aerospace only has mostly men. If you see a woman, she's like your greatest inspiration, like do what she does, do what she says. So I get here at Concordia in my research group, the research lab that I'm a part of, and I was actually very surprised because I think if not 50-50 or more women, I don't know, but there were so many more women there, and I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. I thought now I was going to have people to look up to, because I think for me, friends are also always people I can look up to, not just people I can be like, oh, help me with this. And so yeah, speaking of like what you just ended on, someone who was there before you who became an inspiration. Actually, today in the audience, one of my lab mates that I had is here, and I always like admire the way she does her work, the way she does everything she does, and I thought like, okay, and I always tell her this, I'm like, I want to be like you when I grow up, more like in the research sense, because you have these people who are inspiring you. Like I have my supervisor, but I also have people who are closer in age, and we're with each other on a daily basis, and you see how they do things, and you can learn from them. So definitely being part of a research lab is really helpful in the sense of what you can learn from others and the support you can get. And then in addition to that, having these people as women, it's even more inspiring because there is a way we can bond with each other more compared to like male friends, like nothing against them, but like female friends, like growing up, we always thought like we have these games with girls, like there's a way we understand each other.
Yes,
we
there's a
relate
common
with each
and
other.
seen bond.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
So now seeing women in engineers and we work together was just like, an unusual experience that I had coming into Concordia. Yeah.
That's really interesting, and also seeing both your perspectives it's making me reflect on my own, and I'm like, okay, so we don't really go through the same experiences, but I think the conclusions at the end are the same. Like, from my experience, when I came in, I was accepted into a research lab also, and then I had to study at first remote, but once I came in, I saw the diversity. It was half-half. So we had half female, half male. By the time everyone started graduating and my supervisor started recruiting, I don't know what supported it or what was the shift, but then 90% were female. And at this point today, we are actually all female, but one male. Yes. So engineering, from its different backgrounds, like 4 engineering, 2 from mathematical background. But it's surprising because at first, even for him, every time he reflects on it in the team, because he looks at the other male student, he's like, oh, you're sitting alone on this side and we're all on the other side. And we're like, no, we can't, we're inclusive. But he makes fun of it. He says, when I started teaching, it was all male. There was no women or female students. Engineering specifically, which is kind of a stigma. Like, we all grew up seeing like in engineering, we don't have enough female students. However, I come from the other side of the planet. I think, I'm not sure, but I never noticed the lack of female engineering until I went out of the country and I started my master's here. Because in Tunisia, surprisingly, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first or the second country in the world with the highest women in STEM in general. So my classes, my bachelor preparatory school, we were 80% female, 20% male. So we always felt like the big sisters for the guys there. They were looking for us to be included, and then they wanted to chit-chat with us. That was the best memories ever I had from my bachelor. So leaving there, I came in, I was expecting the same thing. Like for us, male were rare in engineering, surprisingly. And then when I came here, no, it was actually 50-50, and then women were even more, which is, I understand, because we tend to relate to each other. We don't need to talk all the time. When we look at each other, we understand what you want to say. Guys sometimes are like clueless, like what? But yeah, so, and for that, Concordia, and also I had some of the insights from my other friends, like studying in different universities in Montreal, in Canada in general. And I think in our classes in Concordia, we're having even more female compared to our other universities. Because for women to do engineering, it's kind of I'm not sure what was the idea behind it, because I don't think it's a problem of competence or problem of capabilities or problem of being able to do it or not, or the male side rejecting it. I don't know what was the idea that why women cannot integrate or are not willing to integrate engineering, but I think that's changing. Day by day, we're seeing it now change. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. In my perspective, I believe that there are some stereotypes. There's a stigma around female students. It's like the same as you see some people saying that, oh, women are not great drivers. Like, oh, that's a woman who's driving a car. She's not driving it because she doesn't know how to drive. It's the same stigma.
Yeah.
But there are as many bad drivers, women as as male. Like,
Can I just interrupt you here? But here it's a word of expertise. So my work is mainly focused in transportation. So statistically, the least number of accidents caused on the roads is by women. The highest rate of accidents are caused by men.
Absolutely. I mean, the stats speak louder than just the hypothesis. But I mean, yeah, it's the same stigma. But there's also the stereotype back in Egypt, like, you know, women engineers. Oh, if she's like a woman in engineering, she's probably like ugly. Like, you know, why can't we have both? You know, and so like I really hate that. Like I really hate that stigma and those stereotypes. Especially like it becomes a barrier for other women to go in, and like for example, like you hear, oh, engineering is so hard, like, you know, why can't a woman be an engineer? Why? She can do it as well. I mean, don't let that stop you. You know yourself better, and like those, I mean, it could be as hard on you as, you know, a male student. Like what is the like the scale here? How do you measure this? And so like I've heard from other women as well, like that could be like, I don't want to be labeled like that. I don't want to be like a woman engineering. Like, you know, they're tough. They're more masculine. Why is that? Like, you know, I find that really silly. And so we're here today, like to debunk these myths or stereotypes. I believe that we have wonderful women in the room, and they serve as a good example.
I would love to add to that, actually. Thank you for the line of thought. It's not just in engineering. I would say in STEM in general or any other field, it has its own challenges. It's not easy because it's easy. It's just it has its own challenges that need to be faced whether you're a female or a male. So don't let that stop you by saying a male can do it and you cannot do it. And also don't even put it in your head as a barrier, because even though I don't think it was a man at first who said this, to be honest. I think it's just something that was carried along the years, and then the human mind likes to put barriers and then say, oh, no, we cannot do it. No, you can do it. You're capable of doing it. And the other labeling part, I had that. Somehow they're kind of labeling women engineers like bossy or masculine. And on that note, it was something I saw this morning, and I wanted to actually share, and I did, I think, on my social media. To the women who are labeled aggressive, keep being assertive. Bossy, keep on leading. Difficult, keep telling the truth. Too much, keep taking up space. And complicated, keep asking hard questions. And this is for every woman out there, whether in STEM or not. So, now moving on to the next. So what are we going to talk about? We talked about the challenges in women in STEM, the numbers, the rates. I have kind of another question in the same context. Do you think being a woman made it more challenging to stand out in the field, or it made it easier? And I'm focused on the second part of the question more.
So I'll start by saying, like, right now everybody's aware of equity, diversity, and inclusion more than ever. Yes. And so Concordia is one of the leaders in this initiative, and I sensed it myself. Like they always try, as I mentioned, to help. And so actually it becomes easier for you as a woman to succeed, because right now everybody's aware of like equal opportunities. And so you find that actually some jobs, I've seen this morning on LinkedIn, actually, they look for a female. They recruit women, especially in academic staff. Like they want to expose students to counter stereotypical examples, and so they want to recruit like professors and faculty and they want to diversify. And so that actually works in our favor. Like, yes, we stand out. They want us now. They want us more than ever to have this equal opportunity, and also to we have a skill set that is very valuable to the work industry. And so, I would say it's becoming easier than ever before because everybody's aware right now.
Yes, yes. And so also it's an incentive for women to just, one step forward and you're there under the scope or under the sun. So yes. And another kind of different platform, let's say, I had an experience where in an internship where I had this feeling of, it didn't make it easier, but taking it easier on you in a sense, because in this internship, that was also, I was faced with the hard truth that's actually male dominated. Like, we were in a team, 7 people, say 5 of them were male. At first, I started the only person being female in the team. And then, I don't think they meant it, but I felt it. Like, you feel like they're taking it easier on you, they're being extra easy on you. So I had to push forward for me to be treated the same, actually. And it happened. Like, when they realized, okay, she's not soft, she can handle herself. I was the one at some point fixing the coffee machine in the office because it wasn't working. And they were like, okay, thank you. Did that work? I had actually the question from both my supervisors. I hope they're not watching. They came like, did that work? And one of them was like, how? Tell me the process. I was like, I took it from a good intention, they just too curious to know. I didn't look at it from the intention, is she really capable of fixing it? So I think also too much attention on just pushing women in STEM is making it somehow counterintuitive or counterproductive for us, because people think, oh, they're favored now. Oh, they're pushing for them now. Or they're making it easier for them now. It's just that let's not forget, or let's not close our eyes into the main important thing here is about competence and capability. If you can do it, we can do it. If we can do it, you can do it. It's not about being favored, or it's not about being forward because you're just a woman. We all have equal places. This space is big enough to take us all in. We agree on that, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And about the topic of being favored, actually, I used to hear this a lot. Like, oh, you're a girl, like you can just go cry to the professor and then it'll give you extra grades. Well, like, I'm like, this never happened.
Yes.
Every single grade, I've worked so hard for it. In fact, I had some professors who would oppose me just because I'm a woman. Like,
Exactly.
it's actually the opposite. And like, none of this like myths actually are true. And so, like, it's about skills, as you mentioned, capabilities. You're measured on the same scale that everybody's measured on.
Exactly.
And to be honest, I would speak for myself, and I won't generalize. I've never gotten anything just because I was just a woman. I mean, I worked hard for everything that I've earned, and so, yeah.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Speaking on if it has made it easier and all that, I don't know. I think every woman engineer or in STEM should know the movie Hidden Figures. No?
my
Oh
gosh.
no. I'm
Yes.
disappointed. But in that movie, it's from way back then. And these women are they're working at NASA, and they're minorities because 1, they're women, and 2, because they're black. So thankfully, and this is from way back then. And thankfully, the opportunity that we have today is that now the world we live in is more open to, what we will call now in engineering, women who are a minority. They're now more open and they give them opportunities, and it's we keep hitting they believe and they can see that women actually have the ability to do these things that were in the past always like male dominated or considered male fields. So I would say being a woman, I wouldn't say it has made it easier, but it's easier now to be a woman in engineer because there are more opportunities. So for example, for anyone who would want to pursue that, especially in aerospace, I know there is a bunch of scholarships that that are geared towards women, either named after popular women in aerospace. And then for example, at in the aviation industry, now companies in the aviation industry have this thing where in their hiring process, there is a certain percentage that has to be women. And that's really nice because aviation or aerospace has always been male dominated. And then it's another thing I'm very grateful for. Coming from Rwanda, it's a country that really supports women in leadership, women in the sciences. So even during my undergrad, because I was funded by the government there, it was something that they are always pushing for women to be in these fields. Not that these opportunities will not be given to men, but it's because in the past, they've usually not been given to women. So I would say, yeah, there is more opportunities, which is amazing, and people should be looking out for those. And yeah, there are opportunities, a lot of them, for women now in this field that has usually been male dominated.
We are thankful for that, that's for sure. Okay, now, community. So we're all international students here, right? And it's very important to have our own support system, building a community, especially moving back from home and starting from scratch. How hard, challenging was that for you when you first came into Canada?
Okay, so like you said, being far from home and you can't just take a flight whenever you want and you're home in a couple of hours, it takes at least a day for me to get home. So yeah, community was really an important thing. And as I hinted at before, first of all, with a community of other women engineers that you see around, that's already so motivating. And then something that I didn't have when I was doing my bachelor's in the US was a Rwandan community. And here I do have that because there is a lot of Rwandans in Canada, or at least even in Montreal. So I do get to see the people who feel like home, who remind me of home. I get to speak my language, which is always like, oh, I'm speaking this language in a foreign country. That's always amazing. And then also just, you kind of hinted at it, all the things that are happening in Montreal, let alone Montreal, but at Concordia, you do get to make a lot of friends. Like you mentioned, there is ISO, which is the International Student Organization Office. So they organize events all the time, and you get to meet other international students who share the same struggles, everything that you're going through, and you really do get that feeling of like you're not alone in what you're doing. So a sense of community is definitely recommended, but also achievable. It's not every man for himself. No, there's always things that allow you to be in community with other people.
I think that's one of the strength points of Concordia, diversity, how inclusive this university is, because you get to see people from different countries all over the world coming in. And I think that also is made feasible or possible because of the English-speaking nature of the university itself. So speaking English allows for a lot of people all over the world to come, given that English is an internationally spoken language. And then what makes it diverse in the sense that it's easy to build a community. It's easy to find people you relate to, whether it's from the same country or not. And it's something I felt like I have a lot of friends from Egypt, from Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia. Whether we don't speak the same dialect, but same language, obviously, but not the same traditions, but still we relate to each other. And that's the diversity of Concordia that puts it forward. So I'm really grateful for that, and I think that what pushed also for me my master and then my PhD at Concordia, that was it, because once it makes it feel like home away from home, and which is the same sense I have in Montreal, because you get to have both aspects of the city. It gives you the English within Concordia, you go out and you see the French-European kind of vibe, and it's an amazing mix that it's hard to find everywhere else, to be honest. What about you, Nada?
Yeah, absolutely. Having a sense of community is extremely important. And actually, I'm the same as you. So you did your master's and then moved to PhD. I was the same as well. And at the time, like when I finished my master's, it was COVID. So I ended right when COVID happened. And I also started when COVID happened. And so during that period of time, having a community was very, very important because there was nothing else around. Everything was closed. There was a curfew. It was very stressful. Yes. It was a very stressful time. And so one of the motivating factors for me to stay and continue is having this support system and friends around that almost became like family. And so as you mentioned, like Montreal and Concordia is very, very diverse. You'll meet people from all around the world, and it feels like home away from home, as you mentioned, which actually propels you forward, like to have the support system you need. And also, I wanted to mention as well, like Montreal is very, very safe. I would say, like for me as a woman, like walking on the street, I never felt like unsafe or worried. Like I would be walking at night and it would be very safe. We always have security on campus that are willing to help. Actually, they walk you at night. You can request that service. They take you home if you're around campus, very close. But yeah, like it's a very, as I mentioned before, I'm gonna repeat myself, but it's a very beautiful city and very diverse. And you'll find your people. If you're looking for people, you'll find them here anywhere. So yeah.
So work hard, play hard. It can be a myth and it can be a reality, right? I think Montreal makes it a reality. You get to work hard and you get to have fun. And that's the secret also of Montreal. The festivals, like you mentioned earlier, the jazz festival, it's a lively place. In every corner there is something happening all over the year and every season. What is it from your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say this thing like about Montreal. It's the different city in the summer. So in the winter, it's something, and then in the summer, it's a completely different thing. And I've went to a variety of other cities in Canada, and I would say like Montreal is by far the best. It's very lively. It's not too crowded. It's not too empty. There's always a fair proportion of people on the street, which I like very much. It keeps the city lively and going, and you don't have this sense of like isolation. In the summer, like it's very beautiful. There's always festivals. There's the nature, as we talked about before. I always like biking in the summer. It's very bike friendly, and right now we have more bike lanes than ever. And so you can always find something going around, and it's always for free. Like you have those cinema nights in the park. You have like the festival, like in Place des Arts, they have like those music swings. You go and swing a bit. The jazz festival, Igloo Fest in the winter. They have also some winter activities, like they have those slides.
The ski rings.
Yeah,
also
the
for
skating
free.
rings are for free. You just bring your skates and skate and like at Walter Square. Like there's always something, and honestly, I really appreciate that. So yeah.
Yeah, it keeps you busy and it maintains the life kind of work balance that everyone is looking for. At least for us, I think as grad students, working, going out, then you get to walk, you get to see things while you're going home. So it's a really good kind of diversity and diversion from the stress of the work.
Yeah.
What is it for you, Noble?
I would say it's the same thing for me as well. It's really, you gotta work hard. Sometimes it feels like the play, you gotta earn it.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, I'm not the greatest at it. I should do better, I know. But there's a lot of things to do all the time, different things depending on your interests.
Yes.
I really like sometimes to just visit like an art show or a museum because I'm always curious about the beginnings of things. There's a lot of museums, and some of them are free on certain days. And then I also really would love to travel, and I like to travel. So most of the time I get the sense of traveling through food. And Montreal has like restaurants from everywhere, cuisines from everywhere. And like today I want to go to South Korea. Today I want to go to Italy. So, and the way Concordia is situated, which is right in downtown, there is all these places surrounding, and it's different cuisines. So that part I really like. There is also food festivals.
True. The ones in Monroy.
During the summer, and like there is one where there are food trucks, and every week or sometime during the month, it's like one cuisine they do like Mediterranean, and then another time they do Asian. So it's really good. I get the sense of traveling through that. Like while I cannot physically do it for some time, through food I can do it. And then even at these festivals, there are also other like region-based festivals. For example, during the summer there was one about Africa actually, in the Caribbean, in South America, something like that. So you get to experience the culture in that sense. So there is really everything, something for every interest that you might have, and really I appreciate finding that for myself here.
Yeah.
outside of like my work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I'm never going to get tired of saying. Honestly, the location of Concordia allows us to really enjoy each of these events on a daily basis. If something is happening, you don't feel like you're left out, and it's something important for people who have FOMO, fear of missing out. Someone like me, I want to know what's going on all the time. So I just get out of my office and then I'm downtown. I just walk a bit and I get to see what's happening. I get to experience all of this, like Concordia and especially SGW, Sir George Williams campus is located in the heart of downtown. My building is the EV building, so and especially I think we're all located there for research, right? That also leads me to saying thank you for the resources, Concordia, because we have nice offices, nice views. Everything is there for us to just work hard and then get to play hard. So now this leads us to the dilemma. The question that is mostly asked by potential and prospect students coming at Concordia. Do I need French to live in Montreal? And more importantly, do I need it at Concordia to study? Any of us here French speaking?
Yeah,
Are
so speaking about to answer the question, so you don't need French to study at Concordia. Yes, Montreal or Quebec is a French-speaking province. That is the official language. So like, it's highly encouraged to learn French and to integrate into
But
the
do
society.
you need it? Is it a make it or break it?
No, it's not absolutely
It's
make it or break it. So if you live in downtown,
Yes.
everybody's almost bilingual. Not even in the city, it's trilingual and above. Like the minimum is 3. Like I meet people from around the world, and the minimum is just 3. And so it's absolutely not make it or break it. When I came here, I was just speaking English, and with time, I joined the Francisation program, and I learned French. And right now, I can speak, have conversations.
Oh, can you tell us more about this program?
Yeah, so it's a program by the government of Quebec, Ministère de l'Immigration, and they give you classes. You can study in the weekend, you can study on the weekdays. They have a variety of workload that you can take. And yeah, so in a matter of about like a year and a half, you can just, speak French. And for me, it was a bit like I studied French in school, and it was always a dream to like speak French. But yeah, je parle français un peu maintenant.
Good for you. That's really good. It's never bad to learn a language. It opens doors and gives a lot of opportunities. That's something I would say you don't really need it to work or study here. I mean, at least for grad studies, you don't need it at Concordia because Concordia is 100% English-speaking university. So you're more than welcome to come. For Montreal, again, the bonjour, hi, you hear everywhere. So it gives you the option implicitly to choose which language you'd like to proceed with. So, but it's never bad to learn a new language. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I think even though it's not a make it or break it, you'll completely survive in Montreal at Concordia if you only speak English. But that's also the beauty of being in Montreal in Quebec, is that you also get to learn another language, which, if you just went in a Anglophone speaking country or Anglophone province, you wouldn't get to experience that. So like you mentioned, the government program for learning French is there. So I think, yeah, that's the beauty of being here. It's not a must,
Yes.
but you also get to learn because you want to. Yeah.
Also, Concordia provides French classes for who's willing to take. Yeah, there's so many doors you can knock on if you want to learn the language. That's guaranteed. So now we're getting to the end of our panel today, and my last question will be 3 tips you wish someone give you before moving to Montreal and starting grad school at Concordia. What will it be? If you don't have 3 on top of your mind, 1 is enough. 2 are enough also.
I think definitely the first one is there are opportunities. Like, they're there. Go to Concordia website and search for the opportunities. Like, I wish someone would have told me like before coming. And then the second thing is that a healthier you will do better in your grad school. Like, take care of your health all the time.
Yes.
Like, take care of yourself. Get out. Do whatever. You'll do so much better in your work. And then the third thing I guess was like, winter is survivable. I came thinking like it's the worst thing that could happen
Yes.
to you, but I'm actually learning you can survive it.
Yes.
You can actually have fun during the winter. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we're in February is the toughest month of the winter, but I would say it's very survivable. When I first came here, I used to wear 2 pants, and right now I'm one. So yeah.
That's an upgrade.
So yeah, like one of the tips would be like not to overthink it. I think one of the success factors is that sometimes you would just like think, and then you'd be like stopped by those thoughts. But I would say like just take the first step, and everything will be laid out later on. Of course, you have to do your due diligence. But yeah, I mean, don't let that stop you. I mean, the barrier of just overthinking things and then not doing them. And the second thing would be don't worry about learning all the skill sets beforehand. So when you come to Concordia, you will have the foundation you need. I get this question a lot: do I need this? Do I need that before I start grad school? No, you actually come here and they give you all the resources you need. And the third thing, make use of all the services that Concordia gives you, and they're all for free. It's all included in the tuition. Like, we have amazing resources in the libraries, one of the best libraries I've been to, and so like there are a lot of free resources. You can actually borrow laptops, iPads. You can make use of the 3D printer, VR.
The
like,
library.
It's actually
Yes.
amazing, like the set of resources that we have here, and not to mention the classes that I was talking about, all for free. So
Yes.
make use of these. So yeah.
Okay. Well, from my end, 3 tips. Don't resist change. That's the worst thing you can do for yourself when you're starting from scratch. Be open-minded and accepting. And the third thing is make effort to integrate yourself. Put yourself there, put yourself in the open, and see how things go. And that will be it for today. We kind of went over time, so we didn't leave time for questions, but we'll do our best to accommodate questions maybe in the chat or here.
Yeah, we're not seeing any questions right now. I'll just take a moment to mention, though, if people feel free to type those in the chat. We can read them out. And as well, those of you watching on YouTube, we can see that chat also. I know there's lots of nice comments happening, but we don't have any questions at the moment. We'll wait a second. No. Okay. Any questions in the space? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's great to have you all in here. We can wrap it up from here then. We're going to be closing up the Zoom and the live stream now, but just a reminder that this conversation remains available on our YouTube channel, and you should revisit it and share it there. And thanks for joining us here. Thanks for everyone joining us online and also here in the space. And thanks for joining us here at Concordia's Open House, and have a great afternoon.